They
weren't you just terrible at school?
I was dyslexic. I had no understanding of schoolwork whatsoever. I certainly would have failed IQ tests. And it's one of the reasons I left school when I was 15 years old. And if I'm not interested in something, I just don't grasp it. As somebody who's dyslexic, you also have some quite bizarre situations. I mean, for instance, I've had to, I've been running the largest group of private companies in Europe, but haven't been able to know the difference between net and gross. And so the board meetings have been fascinating. And so, is that good news or bad news? And generally people would say, oh, well, that's bad news.
But just to clarify, the $25 billion is gross, right? That's gross.
Well, I hope it's net, actually, having fun. I've got it right.
No, trust me, it's gross.
No, so when I turned 50, somebody took me outside the boardroom and said, "Look, Richard, here's let me draw on a diagram. Here's a net in the sea, and the fish have been pulled from the sea into this net, and that's the profits you've got left over in this little net, and everything else is I finally worked it all out." So.
But I mean, at school, so as well as being, doing pretty miserably academically, but you were also like the captain of the cricket and football team. So you were kind of you're a natural leader, but just a bit of a. Were you a rebel then, or how would you?
Yeah, I think I was a bit of a maverick, but I was fortunately good at sport, and so that at least I had something to excel at school.
And some bizarre things happened just earlier in your life. I mean, there's a story about your mother allegedly dumping you in a field aged 4 and saying, "Okay, walk home." And did this really happen?
I mean, she was, she felt that we needed to stand on our own 2 feet from an early age, so she did things to us which now she'd be arrested for. Such as pushing us out of the car and telling us to find our own way to Granny's about 5 miles before we actually got there, and making us go on wonderful long bike rides, and we're never allowed to watch television.
But is there a risk here? I mean, there's a lot of people in the room who are wealthy, and they've got kids, and we've got this dilemma about how you bring them up. I mean, do you look at the current generation of kids coming up and thinking they're too coddled, they don't know what they've got, we're going to raise a generation of privileged?
No, I think if you're bringing up kids, you just want to smother them with love and praise and enthusiasm and. So I don't think you can mollycoddle your kids too much, really.
You didn't turn out too bad, I have to say. Your headmaster said to you, I mean, he found you kind of an enigma at your school. He said, "You're either going to be a millionaire or go to prison, and I'm not sure which." Which of those happened first?
Well, I've done both. I think I went to prison first.
Yeah. You started 1 or 2 in your time. So, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Records. I guess it all started with a magazine called Student, and then yes, all these other ones as well. I mean, how do you do this?
I read all these sort of TED instructions. You must not talk about your own business and this. And he asked me, so I suppose you're not going to be able to kick me off the stage since you asked the question.
It depends what the answer is. But
no, I mean, I think I learned early on that if you can run one company, you can really run any companies. I mean, companies all about finding the right people and inspiring those people, drawing out the best in people, and I just love learning, and I'm incredibly inquisitive, and I love taking on the status quo and trying to turn it upside down. So I've seen life as one long learning process, and if I see, if I fly on somebody else's airline and find the experience is not a pleasant one, which it wasn't 21 years ago, then I'll think, well, maybe I can create the kind of airline that I'd like to fly on, and so got one sort of second-hand 747 from Boeing and gave it a go.
Well, that was a bizarre thing, because you made this move that a lot of people advised you was crazy. And in fact, in a way, it almost took down your empire at one point. I had a conversation with one of the investment bankers who, at the time when you basically sold your Virgin Records and invested heavily in Virgin Atlantic, and his view was that you were trading, the world's fourth biggest record company for the 25th biggest airline, and that you were out of your mind. Why did you do that?
Well, I think that there's a very thin dividing line between success and failure, and I think if you start a business without financial backing, you're likely to go the wrong side of that dividing line. We were being attacked by British Airways. They were trying to put our airline out of business, and they launched what's become known as the Dirty Tricks campaign. And I realised that the whole empire was likely to come crashing down unless I chipped in a chip. And in order to protect the jobs of the people who work for the airline and protect the jobs of the people who work for the record company, I had to sell the family jewelry to protect the airline. And
post Napster, you're looking like a bit of a genius, actually, for that as well.
Yeah, as it turns out, it proved to be the right move. But it was sad at the time, but we moved on.
Now, you use the Virgin brand a lot, and it seems like you're getting synergy from one thing to the other. What does the brand stand for in your head?
Well, I like to think it stands for quality. That if somebody comes across a Virgin company, that
they're not quality, Richard. Come on now. Everyone says quality.
No, but I was going to move on. It's we have a lot of fun, and I think the people who work for it enjoy it. As I say, we go in and shake up other industries, and I think we do it differently, and I think that industries are not quite the same as a result of Virgin.
There are a few launches you've done where the brand maybe hasn't worked quite as well. Virgin Brides? What happened there?